All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. This is Tyler King with the Denver Gazette, back previewing another Colorado Buffaloes football game. This week, the 3-6 now Buffs look to snap a two-game losing streak that has included a combined score of 105-24. Not the prettiest stretch for the Buffs, but they're heading east to Morgantown, West Virginia, for the longest road trip of the year, and the first time meeting West Virginia as Big 12 foes. I think they played a home and home at the end of the 2008-2009 range, back when the Buffs were in the Big 12, and I think West Virginia was still in the Big East then. But West Virginia joined the Big 12 a couple years later. So it should be an interesting matchup. Both teams are 3-6, although West Virginia is coming off their best win of the season, a impressive 45-35 win over Houston last week, and the Buffs, like we talked about after the game against Arizona the other day, just things have really fallen off the rails, and now they're turning to a freshman quarterback in Julian JuJu Lewis, who will be making his first career start, the third different Buffs quarterback to make a start this season. And West Virginia's kind of been in a similar position, the only program I think in the Big 12 that's had more quarterbacks make starts this season. So without further ado, going to bring on a good friend of mine, Spencer Ripchick, who covers West Virginia for the Post Dominion there in Morgantown. Spencer, how you doing?
Doing good, and how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a nice meeting of some former Penn State Daily Collegian grads today covering Big 12 football. But Spencer, you've been covering this your first year covering this West Virginia team. Just obviously that win last week over Houston was super impressive, but kind of what's been your biggest takeaway so far for West Virginia as the season has gone along in the second iteration of the Rich Rodriguez era?
Yeah, I think this season has definitely been a first year under a new head coach. I mean, he's not really new because he was back in the early 2000s, but I mean, it's his first year. He's rebuilding. He has probably the most every single week after every loss, the transfer account that he's brought in is increased. He says, "Oh, it's been 70. Oh, no, it's 75, and then now it's 80." So there's a lot of new faces. Everyone's learning a new scheme, and you kind of see that with the win total and the record. But I mean, it started off really good. They had a nice win over Robert Morris. There were definitely some issues in that game. Then they carried over to Ohio, and then they got upset on the road against Ohio. And then they came back the week later and beat Pitt, who is now ranked in the college football rankings, which is pretty insane. They won that game in overtime. And they had a bunch of injuries with quarterbacks. They lost their starting quarterback, their backup quarterback, their third string quarterback for a little bit, their fourth string quarterback as well, and their starting running back and second string running back and one of their wide receivers. So they've been injury ridden. But yeah, a big win last week for West Virginia. Snapped a 5-game losing streak. First win in the Big 12 this year. And what a way to do it over a ranked Houston team.
Yeah, speaking of injuries, there's pretty long injury lists for both teams this week. For the Buffs in particular, I think Jordan Seaton is the name to watch. He's listed as questionable on the initial report, which came out on Wednesday night. And then DJ McKinney, starting cornerback, is also listed as questionable. So it looks like the Buffs are going to get left guard Xavier Hill back. He's listed as probable. Buffs are no stranger to long injury lists. It's kind of been this way since we started getting these availability reports in Big 12 play. Just before digging into this Mountaineers team, Spencer, this obviously last week that win over Houston was kind of led by an explosive rushing attack for West Virginia. Obviously, freshman Scotty Fox Jr. gets the start, and he plays really well. Has three total touchdowns in the game. It's gonna be a battle of freshman quarterbacks this week. What did you see from Fox that maybe has West Virginia encouraged going into this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Giants fan, but I've heard somebody compare Scotty Fox to Jackson Dart. I don't think he's there yet, but he definitely has that same kind of like he's more of a running quarterback. He takes off a lot, like he did in the 4th and 4, and he took off for like a 34-yard touchdown. I mean, he's looked really good. The biggest thing with him in the past 3 starts is he hasn't turned the ball over at all, which is super important as a true freshman quarterback. I mean, he's still making mistakes, as Rich Rodriguez says. There's still things to clean up. Some of the reads he hasn't liked that Scotty has made. But, I mean, the first time he came in, I think it was against Pitt, and he came in and threw back-to-back interceptions in both drives. Then he took a little time off and then was forced to start against UCF. And then he played decently in UCF. He needed to start again against TCU and looked really good. I think he threw for like 40 passes, set the freshman record as a quarterback for West Virginia in a single game, throwing for like over 300 yards. So he can definitely sling the ball, but he's still they're definitely going to rely on him on the running game, especially with Colorado's pass defense.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado has really, really struggled to stop the quarterback run all year long. You look at whether it was Haynes King to start the year, guys like Bear Bachmeyer. Even 2 weeks ago when they're playing a true freshman quarterback in Bird Ficklin at Utah, they've really struggled to contain quarterback runs. So I think that could be a really easy avenue for West Virginia to have success offensively. And then a guy like Joe Hubbard, who had 100 yards out of the backfield, a touchdown, had almost 30 carries against Houston. Obviously, he didn't enter the year as a starter. Jaheim White was the guy coming to the year, and like you said, he's been out since week 2. How has Dior kind of established himself and kind of emerged now after some injuries in the backfield?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make another pro comparison, but I kind of see Dior Hubbard and Sincere Bowers as the other running back, kind of like Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They're nowhere near that talent level, but Dior Hubbard is more of the ground and pound guy. Will get you the 1 to 2, 3 yards in between tackles, and Sincere Bowers will take off on the edge and rush for. He'll break off a 20-yard touchdown. So they're kind of similar to that situation. Dior is he's definitely improved over the past couple of weeks. It was a big breakout game for him last week. I think it was more because of the offensive line, but Rich Rodriguez after the game said he ran like a man possessed, and I kind of saw that. He was definitely fighting for every yard. He came up with a big first down at the end of the game last week as well. And then, Sincere Bowers will back him up. I know they have some running back injuries listed on the availability report, but those guys are like third, fourth string, so no issues there.
And any who are the guys to watch for in the passing game? Like you mentioned, Scotty Fox can sling it a little bit if he needs to, and obviously Colorado, his defense has been prone to giving up big plays. You saw it last week against Arizona. It felt like even when the offense would have a drive or get a touchdown, Arizona would come right back with a big play. Now Noah Fafita is obviously one of the better passing quarterbacks in the conference, and he's got some good weapons there. But does West Virginia have anybody that Colorado fans should be wary of on the outside?
Yeah, number 4, Cam Vaughn. Kid's an absolute stud. He's only been playing wide receiver for a couple years. He transferred this year from Jacksonville State, which is where Rich Rodriguez was at. And he came in as a quarterback, and Rich saw him in spring practice and was like, "All right, you're not playing quarterback." So he switched him over to wide receiver, and he's looked really good. I think he has like 20% of the target share or something like that. But yeah, they'll take deep shots to him. They'll just, if it's 3rd and like 14, I guarantee you Sky's gonna step back and they're just gonna throw it deep to Cam Vaughn because he either make an incredible catch or he'll draw pass interference most of the time. But he's definitely got to watch. Rodney Gallagher out of the slot is another name to watch. He's been one of Scotty's favorite targets, and also Jeff Weimer. I know he's on the injury report. I think he's probable this week, but he's also one of Scotty's more favorable targets. He came from Idaho State, and he's been pretty good. He's been slowly getting into the role after missing most of the fall, but he's slowly working his way into the starting lineup, and he's looked really good and a reliable target down the sidelines.
Yeah, this flipping down to the West Virginia defense. This feels like a game that could be kind of a shootout if Colorado, gets any kind of momentum going offensively. Obviously, like I said, they've only scored, I think, 24 points over the last 2 games, and they're going to be starting a true freshman quarterback, making his first career start this week. So that's obviously there's some challenges that come with that. And there was the report this week that Pat Shurmur is no longer the offensive coordinator calling plays. That tight ends coach Brett Bartolone got promoted to that before last week's game against Arizona, which I guess that should tell the state of the CU offense that none of us could really even tell that it was a different play caller or anything because it looked very similar against Arizona. But you look at all the stats, and Colorado and West Virginia have 2 of the 3 worst defenses in the Big 12. I think they're only 3 defenses in the Big 12 allowing over 400 yards per game and allowing over 30 points per game. And Colorado and West Virginia and Oklahoma State are the 3 in both those categories. So obviously West Virginia was able to get enough stops and got enough points in the offense to win last week at Houston. But what are some of the weaknesses that you've seen with this West Virginia defense so far in Big 12 play?
So their biggest weakness right now is, and has been throughout the season, is letting up the big play. They let up a bunch, like the BYU game and the TCU game. They kind of played both teams really, not really tight, but BYU scored a bunch of touchdowns off of big touchdowns, and same with the Kansas game, the first Big 12 game of the season. Kansas opened up with like a 40-yard touchdown. So if they don't get beat by the big play, they should be okay. And last week they held it down a little bit, but I mean, obviously you let up 35 points. It's not really the best performance from the defense.
Yeah, Connor Wegman had over 300 passing yards in the game too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, their passing defense isn't their defense is totally it's it's good when it doesn't let up the big plays and let up and they miss tackles quite a bit. Stopping the run, I think, I don't know. They're hit and miss. Sometimes they're really good, and they usually play better defense at home, I'd say. The only exception to that, I'd say, is the Utah game. They didn't really play that well because they let up the big play again. But like TCU, they kind of held it close, and Pitt game, obviously, they held that one close too. So yeah, I think their strength at the start of the season used to be getting to the quarterback. I think they were like third in the nation in sacks through like 3 games, and didn't have a sack for 5 games. So it's been very hit or miss with this West Virginia defense.
Yeah, and Colorado does have guys that can make big plays. Not so much on the ground, and especially if JuJu Lewis is going to be a quarterback this week, it's probably going to be more of an aerial attack because he's not the running threat that Caden Salter has been, at quarterback this year. So I mean, Omarion Miller had a big touchdown again last week. I think he's a guy to watch for. Joseph Williams for the Buffs. He's been kind of like big play or nothing guy in the passing game. So those 2 guys would be guys to watch. Although I think Joseph Williams is listed on the injury report, but he might just be probable. He is. Same with Omarion Miller. So I would expect both those guys to play at this point. So, and same goes for Sincere Brown, the guy, Campbell transfer who's had a chance to make some big plays this year. If he gets in space, he's one of the faster guys on the field. So I think all 3 of those guys can make big plays. And I think Julian Lewis is going to want to show that he's the quarterback of the future this week in his first career start. And he's going to have chances to make big plays against this West Virginia defense. So, but if there are playmakers to watch on this Mountaineers defense, who are they?
Well, I think all season long and most anticipated and hyped up defensive player on West Virginia's team was Jamori Robinson from UTSA. He was was in the top 10 in sacks last year, just behind some of the Marshall kid who got drafted to the Ravens. I'm blanking his name, but he was up there with Abdul Carter and some of the prolific pass rushers in college football last year. And then he had NCAA issues, so he didn't play most of the summer, and then he didn't make his debut until 4 or 5 games into the season. But he was quiet against TCU. Last week, he kind of made an impact. He's number 0, so you can look out for him. But he made an impact. He had a tackle for loss, and he recovered a fumble. And there's Devin Grant is also a transfer from an Cardinal Ward. He's more of a veteran guy, defensive lineman. He's also a big impact player. And then their corner, Michael Coach Jr., is one of the highest rated corners in the country. At least that was a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he's still really highly rated, but he's really good outside. And then Fred Perry, number 5, their nickel do-it-all safety kind of guy. He comes down and will hit you hard, and then he's really good in coverage.
Yeah, another name on this Western defense that Colorado fans probably know is Chase Wilson, the former Colorado State linebacker who played there for 4 or 5 years. Was a productive player for the Rams at Fort Collins, now finishing up his career in the Big 12. So that's another name to watch for. All right, Spencer, this has been a good insight on this West Virginia team this week. Obviously, kickoff coming up at noon Eastern, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. It's going to be the first really morning kick for the Buffs this year. They played a lot of night games. Coverage going to be over on TNT, and I think you can watch on HBO Max as well. You'll be at the game this week. Unfortunately, I'm not traveling to cover this week's game again, but just what is your take? Who do you think is going to come out on top here? How do you think this one could play out?
I think with the trajectory of both programs right now, I think West Virginia's got a little bit of steam behind them. And I mean, I haven't picked West Virginia to win a game in weeks. So I think this is finally a safe place where I can pick West Virginia to win. I mean, it's kind of funny because they're both starting true freshman quarterbacks, but West Virginia's quarterback has actually got more experience under his belt with game experience than JuJu. And it'll be interesting. I mean, JuJu could come out and just absolutely sling and torch up West Virginia's defense. Is very possible. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I think probably both the teams score at least 28 points or 20 points. And then I like West Virginia 31 to 24 or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what I was going with. I think it's going to be high scoring. I mentioned 2 of the 3 worst defenses in the Big 12, prone to giving up big plays, as you said, on both sides. So I'm going to go West Virginia as well. I haven't picked Colorado in weeks as well. I can't remember the last time I actually picked them to win a game. Even when they beat Iowa State, I think I picked them to lose that game a couple weeks ago. So, when you lose 105-24 combined over the last 2 games, it's hard for me to pick you to win, even against a West Virginia team that coming into the year, this just felt like maybe the easiest game on the Buffs schedule, at least in the Big 12 portion. But I the way they're going right now, I think Coach Prime said he doesn't believe this team has quit, but I don't know. What I saw last Saturday night at Folsom Field against Arizona looked like a team that might have quit. But maybe they get a little bit more juice this week with JuJu Lewis at quarterback. But I still think West Virginia at home is going to pull out the win 35-31. So that's my pick. But that'll do it, Spencer. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to preview this game with us, and enjoy it on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Buffs preview episode. Thanks again to Spencer Ripchick from the Post-Dominion out in West Virginia for previewing this week's game, and make sure to stay tuned after the game for our recap of Colorado at West Virginia.